You guys are ready. I think we're ready, no? Good morning. This is the special meeting of the Urban Design Peer Review Panel. Today is April 12, 2024. First on our agenda is the approval of minutes from our last meeting, which was on March 29th, just a couple of weeks ago. Arturo has sent those minutes via email. They are not printed here. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting? Yes. Second. Do I have a vote? Everybody in agreement? Say yes.
Yeah.
Anyone opposed? So before we start with we have two projects to review today, Westmoreland and Clarendon. Before we start, our guests, as you said, when I first arrived, you pointed out that this is a all-volunteer board. That's correct. Not only that, we are not only volunteers, but we are experts. The board is made up of experts in different fields. We have engineer, we have landscape architect, we have historic preservation expert, we have urban planners, urban designers, and architects. So, I don't think you will find such expertise of such high level anywhere else made up of all volunteers, as I said. So the intent when we review every work and every project that comes in front of the board, the intent is to offer you feedback to make your project a better project. We don't believe in hurting developers. We believe in a better city. We do believe in win-win situations. We don't think that's a panacea. So, with that, I ask Arturo to introduce the first project, so we can get started at one.
Sure, yes. Thank you. Good morning, especially for the panelists who made some time for the special call meeting. Today you'll review the last 5 PPP projects the city in partnership with DART has brought to this panel. The project team, as with the 4 others, were challenged with bringing maximum public benefit, increasing DART ridership, providing new housing options and amenities for residents, transit users, and surrounding communities. The primary design considerations for Westmoreland include maximizing the use and benefit of transit adjacency through thoughtful design and arrangement of residential and support uses. Safe and convenient pedestrian circulation paths through the site and along the perimeter should be activated with direct ground floor access from residential, common amenity spaces, and community buildings. I'm going to pass it off now to John True to briefly provide a little more detail before he introduces the design team.
Thank you, Arturo. Good morning, everyone. I've been there with volunteer things, so we love free help, by the way. So especially okay, qualified free help. So I'm here with our with Chris Dutton, who also worked with me, and then Mark and Sarah are our architects from Austin, and Ben, who's with KFM, he's our landscape architect. And they all feel the same way we do. This is a collaboration with the city. This is a P3. You guys dive in. I'm not going to waste. I want the experts to have fun with this. We've recently had, was it about 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, we had a stakeholder meeting in the neighborhood. Went extremely well. Apparently, those things in that particular neighborhood have been going pretty poorly lately, and ours, knock on wood, was great. Everybody ended up being fabulous. We did get a lot of strong recommendations and requests, all of which we thought were appropriate, by the way. They're really tired of the LIHTC projects that just come in there and do what they want. This, of course, is not that. This is a true P3. It's a city asset, and it's a long-run, thoughtful design in terms of the land plan, because we left plenty of room for future growth and build and have structured parking and whatever the needs may be. But we also hit on how it really complements the neighborhood. There's a little bit of commercial you'll see on there. It can be a few uses. One of the primary uses that we were perceiving that we could be was childcare, which was a huge hit, by the way, with this crowd. You know, the concept being you ride the train to work, drop your child off, come home, pick them up from the childcare. And we were hoping that it would have a little bit of a subsidy, so that it would have perhaps a less than market rent for the childcare, which could also help, and obviously no property taxes. So we think it's an ideal situation for childcare. And there's also room for there's 8,000 people. The project's about 254 units right now. It's about 444 bedrooms. Again, all subject to, you know, how you guys sort of help us along here. We try to make it obviously very walkable. Another thing that people like for big trailers, there's a section we have there that's kind of shareable with the train station folks as well as the tenants. And then kind of late in the game, the start throughout this little funny triangular piece. And that's what can we do with that? And so we tried a few different things, and the thing that really resonated the best with the stakeholders was a skate park. So it is an odd shaped property, but Sarah and Mark have really done a good job of tying these things together with the dog walk. There's a trail. Another thing that we all think about, big picture, probably the last big stakeholder is connecting this safer way via bicycle pedestrian to the natural resource area.
Yeah, connect nature preserve.
There's a large nature preserve that's close by, and they just we're hoping that this project would activate a connectivity to that preserve a little better. Now that's off this site, but I just want to make sure to throw that out there because you guys are kind of looking at the big picture. So, okay. And by the way, I'm out of Austin. We're out of Austin, of course, Dallas. We have other Dallas consultants too, but we are based in Austin, Fort Race. Been doing this 25 plus years, so we're excited. I mean, this has been a fun project. The bonds are coming up. It's all Dallas investors for this deal, so it's local capitalization, and I think it's making a ton of money since, but that's not why we're here for the city of Dallas. So unless you have anything, and I'll just sit over here and let the experts talk. Got more of a ring here. Thank you.
I'm Sarah, thank you for being here today. I guess I can just walk you through the buildings and the architecture. So we imagined this to be 3 separate buildings. Mainly the first 2 are just multifamily, and then the third one is the childcare, or it's a flex space. So there's a building in Austin that I was inspired by. It's called the Doherty Art Center, and so it's like childcare, but they also have a gallery space. There could be art classes, and we have this like outdoor space at the front that could be a gathering space that a band could play, and it's connected to this area, which is the food truck area. One thing that we really focused on was creating a walkable site. So we have different paths of pedestrian access through the building. You can see this main one. It goes basically from one end of the site to the other and ends at the DART station. And it's pedestrian friendly, and it's open to the whole community. So there would be no gates or anything, like anyone could walk through there. And along the way, there'd be shade and interest, and it would be a space that would be inviting for people to walk through. And then also connecting this way, there'd be access to this dog park, and then this hike and bike kind of trail that leads down this way. Along there, we're imagining that we could put exercise equipment along the way. And then this leads to a street, and right here, that's not on here, that leads to Pierce Street, and that's the way to get to the Oak Cliff Nature Preserve. And we also have a community garden over here. So we're trying to incorporate different ways of sustainability, you know, growing your own foods, capturing rainwater. And we're also planning on putting some like covered fencing area, like carport areas with solar panels on the top. In this first building, building A, we have a pool in the center, so that would be a nice amenity for the residents. And then in the building B, we have like a playscape or something more family oriented. And then mainly, I guess the leasing center would also be housed in this area. So these are basically just for residents, and then all the amenity or the commercial aspects would be in building C. We left all the existing parking that Dart is using right now. So this was a parking area here, and this was just a field. We tried to create, basically there's the right amount of parking for the multifamily and the Dart still. Do you have any questions?
Good, no, we're just gonna put this here, we can look at it.
Okay, that's our complex.
These are site sections, and I can walk through those. We're just showing, so, oh yeah, here's another thing. There's also a sidewalk along Illinois Street. And to create a little like buffer zone between the residents who would be living right on Illinois Street, we have these brownstone type stoops. And then there would also be like a nice fence around them, creating like an area that would be safe for people, children hanging out in, or dogs to go outside.
Anything else that you want to tell us?
We're also preserving a lot of the existing trees that are on the site. It's really a beautiful site right now with the trees, so we're trying, everything is as much as we can preserving the nature that's already there.
Where are the existing trees that we want to preserve?
So the existing trees in this are the ones that don't have the like vein. They're all these trees, and then the new trees that we plan on planting are the ones that are a little bit smaller and have the veining in them.
Sorry, where on the site plan is the view with the big tree graphic, the. That top, is that finished, yeah, where else is that? That's,
That is right here.
oh, it's there, okay, all right, so is that being considered the main?
Yeah, that would be the main entry point, and then you come in, and we did consider putting like a gate for cars to drive through here. I think that we would leave like this drive open because I think buses might come through this way. But this is the main bus travel, this teal line. And then this is a very wide area right here. We thought we would do some planting like in the center, and it could be like a drop off zone for people that were living there.
So the way we like to do this is, once you're done with the presentation, we'd like to ask you questions first, just for clarification, like we are doing already.
Yes.
And after that, we want to engage with you, offer feedback, et cetera, okay? So, as I said, we are now on the question asking phase, and I do have a question.
Okay.
For you, you mentioned parking, we have parking for Dart, and we have parking for residential. Do they overlap?
So, on page 5, we have, this one shows the different, parking quantities. And so, I put like a dash line around like what would be considered parking for A and B and C.
Okay.
But this is a lot of extra parking, so people, like for these, it'd just be like 1-to-1 for the units, but if people had 2 cars, they could also park over in this area, because this building didn't require that much parking. So we have extra parking here. And then there's a lot of parking here for Dart. But again, if there was overflow, there'd be this extra parking.
I'm gonna add a little quick on that because we did a lot of digging with Dart on the true use of what they have right now. And we also looked at a lot of video and satellite imagery. And we feel more than comfortable with that allotment of parking just for the train riders. We've never seen them even fill up this sort of a triangular parking lot. So.
Okay.
And we did imagine, like, I know John was talking in the beginning about future use, and this area could be redeveloped for a structured parking lot with mixed use above.
A question about parking, it sounds like you met the minimum, but you might have even exceeded the minimum, is that right? Am I understanding that right?
Well, yes, it's about, we are meeting the requirements.
Okay, I'm asking because I'm wondering if you're exceeding the minimum, if there was any discussion about eliminating the extra spaces and giving that back to the site in any way.
Well, we were a little bit, we wanted to keep Dart comfortable and happy as well, and so, yeah, I think we're above the minimum, but, and part of the reason is to help comfort Dart in terms of, oh, well, what if this becomes a very popular train stop all of a sudden when you guys are in here and we use more than the triangle. So there is overlap, and that's why we have it.
One question I have, so that parking, I think one thing to note, which I'm guessing, south of the childcare, that's existing paving, you're not putting in paving, right?
Correct.
Yes. So I don't think that if it's used, fine, if not, so that is what we have.
Yeah, we're trying to make this to where it's, I mean, look, the improvements that the city of Dart put in are really top notch. And the landscaping and the trees are in incredible shape. And so we're like, why the hell did we come and tear all this up? You know, and we've already got so much stuff here that works for this. And so these guys really designed and drew around, trying to use what's already there.
Just one quick, so, two questions, you mentioned one, that bus circulation might go on the south and then to the north. Since this is a controlled property, it's a dark property, my question is that, you should know the answer to that, whether it's bus circulation that way or not. Right? And my second question is, what was your thought behind extending the public walk to building A?
What was the thought for extending the public walk all the way?
That's fine to building A, yeah.
Well, there is a possibility of creating, like, extending this path, which becomes like a bike path, up to the sidewalk over here, so we could bring it all the way down and get through the entire site, but basically, we just wanted to make pedestrian friendly path from one side of the site to the other.
I will say in our stakeholder meeting, we went in with a pretty open mind, but we threw out what they would prefer to see or they think would be best in terms of security. The neighborhood's obviously a little patchy in terms of security and whatnot, so they were pretty, nobody said that they were against having it gated. I think that, there hadn't been a decision on that, but we did draw in some, they've got some ideas of where It's not real offensive looking and it's sort of hidden gating. But, and then what was your first question about building?
Well, I don't want to give my opinion on it, but I want to understand why you're running that sidewalk through a building. Personally, I would
A
have.
public sidewalk?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
No, there's, each building is gated in terms of the courtyard.
Yes, so there would be, as you're walking along this path, there would be a gate here.
You know, that's a four fence.
Yeah, no, it's, I agree, so part of why we went with the courtyard theme really, I mean, for the obvious reasons of use and efficiency, whatever, but also to have secure spaces for example, the pool area and the family area on the larger building courtyard, and then the smaller building with the smaller courtyard really designed to be more of an adult courtyard and a skate. So yeah, those we don't consider those to be public areas. I mean, right? That's not.
Yeah, the
Well, yeah, we
I understand that the walkway, yes, we understand.
I mean, I think that we could definitely, if you didn't think that this should be public zone, it would be very easy.
So we're just asking questions.
And it's just a,
Yeah, and one final question, did you look at, that final green space, it just happens to be on the lower end of the site, that's not being used as detention at this time. Correct.
Yeah, this one,
Oh, the triangle?
No, the 24.
But you know what that is? It's a railroad track. It's an abandoned railroad track.
oh, it's not about this whole site, it's just a current graphic.
It's a laydown.
Upward cars, not thread.
Yes.
There's a billboard, street frontage.
Well, the main reason we have that pathway that goes through all the buildings was really driven by DART wanting this whole site, including the station, to feel connected and not like we are building and apartment buildings are separated and there's a clear line drawn between them.
That line, that walk was really nice, not public for,
Yeah,
The
that's
neighborhood
for
is-
separate stuff.
public for people who live in the areas, and they're walking through these areas, they're saying hi to their neighbors, dropping their kids off at daycare, going straight from the train station, so it's all very
Yeah.
visible and connected, shit like that.
Talk a little bit about how the ground floor units on the courtyard or patio to the courtyard.
Yes, so they'll have their own little private patios on the ground.
That's.
Yeah, I think that's. And we have, right now, it's designed, we have patios facing, Illinois.
So this is the building B here, and the darker rectangles are the private patios. And then there's even more like with a gate around them.
One more question, guys, all of those trees are existing trees on the north side between Illinois and.
Yes, there is one.
Are you doing any work on the public sidewalk that is along Illinois or the state?
Good question. We don't know. And I think the sidewalk that's there now is just your basic.
Yeah, it's yeah.
We should talk to the city about that.
so a follow-up question to that. What you show the yellow stripe, is that the existing sidewalk?
Yeah.
This one.
That existing, yeah. Okay. Okay. Yes, no.
A couple quick things. Is there any phasing for this project or is it building out all of it?
The way we currently have it.
Okay, is this a real design or is this a placeholder architectural design?
No, it's real.
Yeah, it's.
Well, you get a lot. If I got a building that's that, I don't like that building, right? Well, that's not a real building, we haven't designed that yet. And that's how you have to do it in modern presentation, you can't tell if you really got it or not.
No, we intend to, we hope that this passes much with everyone, we can get on with it.
Okay. And my last question is with the fence and the portico thing. Here I've got no portico and fence. Here I've got portico and no fence. Over here I've got both. How does, and it's, I don't see it on the plan delineated. I guess exactly where is that fence?
Sure. So, on the north and south sides of the building, we are planning to do the brownstone type, like brick stoop.
Okay.
And then on the east and west, we plan to just have the fence, like dog yard type. And then along Illinois, we plan to have the stoops with the fence.
Okay, just, so it's combined, it's just on facing Illinois. Thank you. That's all my questions. Was there your?
So the Y junction where the skate park is Dart on the track, so that's not used.
No, that's not.
Yeah, they own, they typically don't like people in those, but that's good if they own all that, that's good. The second question is, you mentioned play area around the multi-use building, right?
So this is a,
This is playground, community center playground.
Building C.
Wait, you mentioned the skate park. I know in work I've done recently, the playgrounds are pretty popular. One of the first things that had to be expanded in Cloudmore was playground. People gravitate to those. Has there been a lot of talk in your stakeholder meetings about having a place like that, and is it large enough and where it be?
Actually, you know, the way we kind of see it too, is that even because if we have childcare, we would be smaller for the that we design that. And then the smaller courtyard is has the playground. Yeah.
yeah, so the building B has, this like community courtyard play skate area. And that's what this, image is showing.
Yeah.
But also there'd be a playground in this area for the after school program. And then the skate park would also.
Yeah, that's.
Just one more question. The hike and bike trail that's proposed, not existing, right?
Correct.
And it connects with existing trails or not?
It just connects the dog park to this end of, the site, and then there's a street here.
All that, it's all.
So this street here connects to Pierce Street, which is like this direction, north-south, and if you take that south, you'll hit the Oak Park. And you'll pass by Stevie Ray Vaughn's childhood home as well.
Very good. Any other questions for the team? If not, what if we start with feedback? Norman, would you like to start this on?
I would be happy to start. Please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the team for bringing this forward. It's, I always love to see these projects. There's a lot. It's an opportunity to set a new standard in Dallas. I have to say this every time too, I think. But these projects are typically bell cows for a neighborhood. This is something that's going to happen that's really different. For instance, you don't really show it here, but on the far right of the plan, there's a building there. It's not photographed, and I'm gauging from the aerial view that looks like a warehouse. Okay, really lovely stuff. Yeah. And all of this backs up to a completely engaging warehouse, aging warehouse neighborhood. So the opportunities here are significant because you're really bridging between the pedestrian realm and while there's residential very nearby, your context is industrial. So it's important that we make that transition and hopefully come up with some new ideas that people can share and do this. So thanks for taking that on and your efforts that way. I do have a couple of things I think might help you along that way. I would encourage you to continue some overused term, but think kind of outside the box. For something like if you're going outside the box, right? This is not, there are no projects like this in my box. It's different here. And so I will say that I, for instance, in my getting around on the actual comments, the question about, Fila's question about the sidewalk, got me to thinking a little differently about it. You know, that walk connecting up an actual DART station with a new development is one of those sort of transformational ideas that is possible here and not typically possible. I would suggest, from what I've seen, that there are still a lot of opportunities to maximize that, to really make that a piece for this project. Truthfully, just judging from the plans, it does very much look like it was added later. Let's take out these apartments and put up sidewalks here, kind of thing. I believe these, while the apartments, can, most of the apartments, the childcare building and the food truck thing, I think works pretty well there. But it strikes me that the apartments perhaps need to engage in that idea of what in London would be a muse, a small pedestrian area going through multi-story buildings. I think there's more opportunity there, something to be more special there than just, okay, here's the courtyard where the pool is, and there's a few units facing them, we put sticks on them, but it's a good start. But I think I would suggest you look at doing something in there that winds up being your magazine cover photo, something we use on the front of your brochure. Well, look at this really cool, different, interesting urban space that we've been able to develop, and that thing right there goes straight down to a train station. Easy to do. I think that's I would work with that. So I think that's a really good opportunity. I've noticed there's, and again, it's not that I can say all the time. There's at least 12 feet of drop across here. There's absolutely no indication of drop. Everything is, man, this could be Lubbock. And I think it's going to have more of an impact on your design than you really sort of allude to in these drawings. And I wonder if you're taking full advantage. Of course, slope tends to get in the way a lot of times, but it also can create transitions and spaces and things that are fun and interesting. It also creates things that are challenging especially for the mobility impaired. But I wonder if it's been thought all the way through here. I would encourage you to do some more thinking with that. And then I really do like the public realm stuff here with the community center or the food truck court. Those are great features. The last thing I would say is, what the design thing was a bit of a loaded question. It still has, it's not, the imagery of the space is not outside the box, even though the relationships with the people and the trains and the opportunities here are. In fact, these particular multifamily things to me read much more as actually suburban office than they do. They don't look very residential to me, except for the stoops. The stoops are a great feature, but in general, I would hope that we would, let the architecture. I'm an architect, so I want the architecture to be front. I fight with my landscape friends all the time about this. That I could cover my architecture up with a tree. But here, I think that there's details and opportunities here that the presentation doesn't get into much, and suggest that maybe that there's just more that can be done to make it more interesting and pedestrian scale and more clear architecture as you go to it. That's kind of my thoughts. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is that clear to the group? Comments? Yes. Okay.
I think I have a clarification, because the first part, I hear all you're saying. By the way, that's probably my fault. The warehouse look. We have some structures in Austin that are really good, east side of Austin. But anyway, so I'm sure the architects agree 100%. That was more me. And number two, the first part you said, so you're talking more about that commercial space, the integration between the station and the multifamily, do more with that middle, that transition space?
No, I'm talking about the actual walkway itself.
Oh, the physical.
The walkway looks like it should be an organizing element to this thing. But it doesn't look like an organizing.
Covered pieces, they,
I think the building, me, this, not that anybody wants to go far, but I think the buildings would reorient themselves to present a much more interesting and intricate and pedestrian scale, boundary for that walkway is, whether they're gated or not. And I think, given what you're doing, I think gates to block off a building is counterproductive. And if you're gonna put that thing through there and connect them up, it's connect. And if you got that, and it goes all the way to the other end, and it connects up to the street. So I don't see the gated option. If you're gonna do this, you do it. I can see that I can see where you have interior private spaces up to the bottom. I'm lost for north and south, so yeah, back in there, I think that's what you would get. And so your design would wrap around more and provide maybe a more distinct transition between the two. You start thinking about more mature cities than we have here. Dallas is an adolescent city in my mind. It's in more mature cities. You see that kind of thing occur nationally. We have to create it. And you have a chance to do that here. I actually think your walk may be your best. Your walk in connection to the train may be your very best feature. And I think you can squeeze more out of it. That's kind of room. And that's just some thoughts I had. There's lots of things that can be done. That would be a lot of fun to play with, actually. If Mark were here, he already had his markers doing that for us. But yeah, and I wouldn't think it would be objectionable for it to maybe stagger it a little bit. Maybe it's like a hallway in a hotel or an apartment. You don't want that thing that goes all the way. Maybe it comes over, steps over, and that may also be a place to take some of those geographical transitions, I think, are in here and are not. So I'd focus more on that. I think that's the best feature.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's great as mystery on it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna chime in. I don't have a whole lot to add because I agree 100%. I will say that I slightly disagree about the character of the architecture. I don't think it's so bad. I mean, I kind of like this allusion to a station or a warehouse.
That's what I was kind of questioning.
Yeah, I think that I think that it can be pushed a little further, and if we want to get really nitpicky, like where you have these spandrel pieces, be careful about what material you choose with that for construction. I think those kinds of details can start to look forced, but generally, I think the character is not bad. But yeah, I think I actually think that very straight path makes sense for this site because it's a long, narrow site, and so having that vista, well, in as much as you have a vista of 12 feet, kind of makes sense. But just to echo what Norm said, I think that you could push it a whole lot further, especially I think at the crossings where it's crossing over asphalt. Turn that into a much more celebrated connection. I mean, because it's a traffic calming device. It's something that, I mean, you don't want people having picnics out there, but you can look at pavements and widening the pathway and really doing something, I think, to make it, more of a exploration than just a cut through right now. And I think I'm sure part of it is the graphics, but it just feels like you took the highlight and just drew a line across the site. And so I think devoting more time to how the user experiences that pathway would be a real benefit. And it makes sense that you all are from Austin because it feels like it has some of those Austin sort of injections that make a site feel more integrated. And I think that you've done a lot of thought in terms of what the amenities to the site are. So now it is time to just really hone in on those details and really spend some thoughtful, focused time developing the design of what those details are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Liza?
Okay. I actually love the layout of the design. The few projects I've seen where pretty good in front of it. I've said that I still have some of my own thoughts. I'm a civil engineer, to be better in mind. My thought is that on this sidewalk, we had already done at the time. I was not sure what is it doing. Is it a chicken or is it a cat? What I mean is, if it is truly public space, then how long is starting designated, which is great. But if it is not truly a public space, I as a tenant don't want that 4-foot fence that is bifurcating the public space with the pool, because I would not want my kids to be there, knowing anybody can be going there, right? So that's a question for development to decide on. The other bigger picture thought that I have is that if you choose to reconfigure this with the spine and to decide that, yeah, let's just relook at it. It's not your fault, but I don't like the views that I see on the south and the east. It's all trailers and warehouses and stuff. So should you choose to go back to look at it, although this is a great design, should you choose to go back, I will tell you to think about that. Why maintain that second spine in between building A and B? You have it there only because that's the existing curb cut, right? You also have extra, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Where?
Gas pump. That's existing driveway. You're taking it, you're setting the buildings up on top of that roadway. Instead of that, what I thought is that, look, and I love that big station sign that says Station House 81. My view is most of the people who see that will turn in and then they'll find their way towards the station, because really what they are thinking of is going to Dart. An alternative approach that came to my mind is that one, you already have excess parking. You're getting, I don't know, not that many parking on that spine. Eliminate that. Shift that to the west of building B. What it does is, and I know that track is coming at an angle, but just right there, you can put it just at the angle length. If you set up your entrance over there with their station house, it will do two things. One, it will bring everybody in who's coming into the public space, the food court. I love the idea of the food court, but I want to be able to park somewhere close to it so I can see it and visually connect to it. I recommend you look at that, shifting it to the west between C and B, and bring it down. You won't need that excess parking that you right now have. Really utilize it. You won't be total parking. And all of a sudden, you have gained about 60 to 80 feet of space. You can play with it. You can convert that into extra green space, or you may choose to reorient the buildings. As good as the design is, my only hang-up is that this is again, like I said, it's not you. I just prefer architectural scheme that minimizes the views. You know, like, I mean, what do I usually get? I mean, I feel like there can be a lot that it can focus on towards. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing to think about. And you made a comment earlier about the bus circulation,
Yes.
and you're right about that, and we've watched it, we've studied it, but it does come around, and they do that, they'll have parks in here. And so we've been working and trying to think about the best way to calm the traffic on that one drive.
Yeah, and if you do that and add the main entrance to the left of building B, give a little bit more parking, that is for the food court people, as well as for the community building. And I think it would on the level. Second, I am not concerned about the rail connection, but I understand the information. You are really using the existing parking, you're leaving it alone, not to disturb it, so that is why we have to print it where it is. So it is what it is. That's. And I personally think as a developer, if I own this property, I don't, it's maybe not appropriate, but I don't necessarily want that public sidewalk running through my building because my tenants are not gonna like it. So that is why I say, even if you break it, and then we design against it, convert it, so that it functions as it's supposed to, or eliminate it.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. If you try to do too many things, it's not a good concept. That's nothing. But a great design, great design.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I agree, but I think you're right there. I think you're just more of fine tuning. I'll pick up on what Kate and Norm said. I wanted that spine. I feel like you're there, but it feels a little bit tinny. Sorry, I don't know. You know, I think you have an opportunity, I was making some notes, and I like what Kaz was saying, is that I had the same thought. Yeah, could your entry drive not be to the left of the B where your garden is? And then move through and come out over here next to this warehouse, which is now waste, whatever that is, that company. So bring that all the way through, and then that would allow you to really emphasize more of that street edge. And then the thought I had was, did you look at taking your, putting that on the street and then bringing that garden and green space back, so it's, you know, away, maybe it's where if you just flip flop that. So your main entry would be to the left of the B, and then you'd have essentially two primary entry points. And then what would be nice is if that central drive parking could either be de-emphasized or maybe go away altogether. And then you can link it up, create a bigger
The
playground.
big question I have, and I like this, but is the spacing to the track.
Yeah,
I don't know,
Yeah, look at that.
I think it's doable, it's right here.
that's the only concern. I love it. I love the idea. I'm just worried that the city, you know, it's.
I usually hear it felt it, you know, I mean, I had an issue.
Well, I mean,
It just makes it
Yeah, you can space, I just don't know what the required garden, what the spacing is gonna be from that garden track.
Yeah, and I don't want to see it all, open space, and you all, it's really hard. That would allow you to really lengthen this, and my thought was, it'd be so great to have that. I know this is sort of, maybe it's more aspirational, but it could feel more like Central Stein, Prime Play, they emphasize this. And then we could have artists, I mean, it could.
Well, I think this piece here is, okay, and I think Sarah may have spoke early on, because we've never really considered, I haven't at least, considered this to be public from here to here.
Yeah.
I think that's very, a little bit of extra.
I mean, in terms of like wide open to the public, I agree with you. It's like I'm sitting there with my kids by the pool, and I don't want, you know, some lurchers hanging around on the fence line. I just watch this all under bikinis.
I think how you program that is up to you guys, but I think you start with that LA trees on the side over here by C. It's like, I want to pull that through it. I want it to be a double row. If you're going to do it, and then orient the buildings to really.
See, the reason that's not actually, but it's still open to the far end of that building and going east.
Right.
And if that ever goes away, extend it.
It goes to nowhere here.
Yeah.
It's really all about this sidewalk.
Yeah.
And on that driveway, you can always look at only right in right out. I'm not so you.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. Is, you know, the suicide is going to kind of hang a hard, fast left right here.
But, you know, if you brought, I don't know how it's, I guess, but if you took C and moved that out and bring it. You said you have a lot of overflow parking. The other thought I had was, could that be permeable? Could that be something that could be a flex space? So if this big promenade, if you want to have some kind of activity for the residents, overflow spill out onto that.
Over here or over
Yeah,
here.
onto your extra parking.
Yeah.
That
Which is already there.
Which would be next to your green space, yard, and that could be a big open area where you can have runs, things like that, but I know that's existing paving, so, but I think it could still be a dual purpose.
You said 12-foot drop. I'm sitting there going, where is the 12-foot? From right here to here? Oh, you know why? It's got that weird, arc. There's a arc here.
We go from 640 to 624.
Yeah, it's straight 12-foot drop. Most buildings, most of the residents build, it's like, that's a whole floor.
I think you're onto something really, it could be really very nice, and I don't think it takes a lot of modification to a short path. Maybe it's just thinking through kind of the circulation in and out. What, I really want, I know it's existing, but I feel like I want that to either go away or be, maybe it's just a 2-lane, very small, narrow, like, that's pretty. And then you're able then to kind of make this more like a canvas plot, you know.
I have one of the questions. I just thought, who's gonna maintain this skate park? Is it gonna be city or is it gonna be developed?
You. I don't don't think we got it.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna say that I would love to see a small, very small bathroom right next to it.
Well, they have them right here.
Oh, they have them right?
Yeah, right here. Yeah, they have bathrooms right there.
And those were really mine, that was really mine.
All right, so guys, great work. You heard a lot of good comments, some of them are contradictory, slightly contradictory, that's okay. That's probably why. Still, the fact that you are tackling this tough site, sometimes it's hard to see the potential when you look at a site like this, but you guys have tackled it and you have done it very well. My take, I think that it's clear to me that the armature that you have established is strong, it's clear, it's logical. It fits in with the industrial character of the place. But when you talk about warehouses and industrial buildings, it's all about the logic, the efficiency. Well, this is what it is. It picks up on that thread and turns it into something that goes beyond the industrial and the utilitarian. So very, very nice. Regarding the character of the architecture, I think it's actually quite handsome. It is not a place for gables and small allusions to other residential typologies. Again, we are in an industrial neighborhood, so I believe, I understand where it's coming from, and I believe it's appropriate and quite handsome. Of course, you are still in the early phases, and it will be refined, polished, but again, the bones, the armature is there. Do agree with the previous comments though, when regarding the spine, the walkway. It's a bold, courageous gesture. Don't give up on that. Don't water it down. Let's find ways to make it safe, to make it work with the slope on the side. But don't give up on that. I think it's clear. If I live on building A and I had to take the train on that station, I would, of course, I would walk. I would take the central spine. It's pleasant. It has an interesting within. No question about that. Can the building, the architecture of the buildings, reaffirm, reflect that spine? Yes. For instance, just like James, I can't help myself as you get. So in one of your elevations here, the upper portion of the building carries through the opening is there, which is strong. But if the upper portion of the building also reflects that, maybe push it in a bit or pull it out, but then we put or two, change the cladding, just to reinforce this point that you have. Simple. What else did I have here? Still about the building, the architecture. You show, well, even in this image over here, it seems to be brick, blonde brick at the base. Is that correct? And what is up the white material? What is it?
Already,
Okay.
black siding.
Okay. Let's make sure that we do have brick. That would be an easy target. Well, we don't have to spend money on brick. Well, let's keep the brick. It's important. A couple more things. The sidewalk along Illinois. We asked you at the beginning if it is an existing sidewalk. You said yes. It seems to me that the building pulls away so much from Illinois, and that sidewalk is so. You use the word timid. You use the word in another circumstance, but the sidewalk, a 4-foot sidewalk along Illinois, is not going to be that good, right? Could we make it part of the scope of work here? Could we make the sidewalk along Illinois part of the scope and better integrated with development? I would even push the buildings closer to Illinois. We have, I'm guessing the setback there is a good 25, 30 feet. Do we need that? Do we want that? Would we have a right of way with trees? Thank you. Trees along the, next to the curb, on the back side of the curb, and then the sidewalk pulls in between, right of way and building edge.
Yeah, we talked about that in our last meeting.
That's right.
Having those trees.
Is it there was again or was it existing?
Anyway, to widen the sidewalk without disturbing the trees.
Yeah.
So, again, see what you think about that. We want to encourage you to create an urban edge, an urban beauty, not a suburban garden apartment. This is not a garden apartment, shouldn't be a garden apartment. So, how to get there? And finally, issue of parking. When we asked you if dark parking and residence parking overlap, we do encourage you to overlap. We don't want to give all the parking that dark wants and give all the parking that tenants want. So overlapping is okay. We encourage you to not overbuild parking. The most saddest thing that empty parking laws most of the weeks. Not only they are ugly, they are unsafe, they are not being productive. So if there is some overlapping between dark and, for instance, along or around parcel C, as you indicated and as we suggested, hey, why not? That would be the what's the word? Flags. Thank you. The flags parking right there on parcel C. Of course, around exactly somewhere there. A and
Part of
B.
this could be a drop off this building.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you have to overflow from dark to there, it's okay, but don't overbuild. Please don't overbuild parking. That's not how contour cities work. Dallas has been suburban for too long, and we are trying to move away from there.
See, that would be the most trivialized parking that would be. Everybody, not just from the apartment, but those who come around, they are park there, drop and take, catch the train.
Other comments that you have, I think they're excellent, and please consider those comments. And once again, we realize that some of the comments, many of the comments are contradictory. But that's up to you, to balance out and get to a solution that is beneficial, not only to you, but also for the city.
You know, and encourage to plant some trees around the skate park.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing.
I don't really know what's there currently. Big grass, it's abandoned kind of areas and track, and there's a site buried there.
Looks like there's one.
Well, especially, and that looks like I don't know, a place where semis go to die, right?
Yeah.
Next to it, so some kind of area. Would be nice. Yeah, right. One with authority.
Pretty hard edges.
Yeah.
Very good.
This is very, very, very helpful.
So feel free to come back and see us.
Well, yeah.
All right, any other comments from my team here? Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'm just gonna go ahead and repeat what I heard, in the slides, it's a little bit, there's currently 9 comments, and I can see how those might turn into a 7 or 8 based on, a lot of them losing the ocean pathway, but I'll go ahead and read them now, like I said, Sure, yeah.
So, yes, reading out?
Yes.
So, let's wait for having the date. All right, summarize.
Okay. Here's my summary of what I think I heard. The panel believes this project presents a great opportunity to set a new design standard for this neighborhood and encourages thinking outside the box to maximize the benefit of the use through both apartment buildings to create a special place that leads to the DART station. Number two, the panel recommends building and pedestrian spine design should work with the existing topography to create an interesting and unique architectural opportunity. Number three, the panel advises the design of the apartments reflect its use better through detailing and how the building addresses the public realm. Four, the panel recommends the main pedestrian path being celebrated more through the buildings and as it crosses the vehicular drive by elevating its design and the relationship of the buildings and landscapes in alignment. Five, the panel advises additional thought given to gating the pool courtyard to maintain safety and security for residents. Six, the panel recommends vehicular entry between buildings A and B be eliminated or reduced in size, and that the space between buildings C and B have an entry from Illinois to gain additional space or reorient buildings A and B. And to also eliminate confusion for those accessing the DART station. And lastly, eliminate or reprogram some parking space. That one obviously needs to be reworded here. I think all the names. Yeah. Number seven, the panel provides a sidewalk. The sidewalk along Illinois can be redesigned to provide a more generous and safe pedestrian pathway lined with trees and that has a closer relationship with the building front. Number eight, the panel recommends that a shared parking scenario with DART and parcel C building be explored. And lastly, the panel advises that trees be added along the edges of the skate park to provide shade.
Anything that Arturo couldn't capture what you think? Okay, thank you, Arturo, thank you, thank you all. Thank
Somewhere.
I must feel like they went out that way.
Okay.
Is that maybe, you think that's transportation?
I mean, DART's gonna have to say.
I think we should write-
Who do you think gets the sign off on that?
Is it a city transportation?
Yeah.
Kimberly Smith joining remotely, but she's probably, maybe just want to follow up.
So you can tell them, and, I think if it's reduced, that's pretty,
I like the idea, one about right in, right out.
but
I think that's, and then the main interest of the multi really would be on that far end.
Right.
after that, the courtyard is only like 45 feet. That's a very tiny courtyard for a 4-story building.
Yeah.
So
Right, you can widen it out.
it would
Allow you.
Open it up.
Uh-huh.
It's good. More than ridiculous.
The panel too, way back. Whatever that was. She's the one that.
My
City transportation.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Keith or Smith and Darby have a say.
Oh, that is.
And
Yeah, thank
the
you.
owner is.
It would be much more city or it would be. But like I said, 57 feet is.
Great.
Good enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Free help.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, great.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you, ever come down off. We were just as surprised with you guys.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck there. Yeah, take care.
Thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you. You bet.
Okay.
We got everything right?
Just to get. Yes. Problems. Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, so, yeah, definitely.
It's not. They're right on the red line. So they're in like the top stage or the next station is kind of a store. South of it is like a builder. That's very much. My conversion.
Yeah.
Oh, the under chambers, only change.
It really.
North of this street.
Yeah.
So I'm really.
It's like dark meeting.
No, well,
Is it almost, over to 10th Street? It's not, is it 10th Street? Or is it a little bit? But then the phone's weird. I'm not sure. I think 10th Street is a little bit darker.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, here it's.
Yeah. Soon. Yeah, it was a great idea. Yeah, that's. You can see it's still. It's at 10 or good. And this.
Well, yeah, the people, yeah, it's strange that that filter in.
Well, and that's the thing, is probably would have been part of this
Yes.
thing, this before there was a freeway.
Well, also, even the, I had a design meeting the other day, and I was trying to animate.
You're kind of going up a big hill.
And it was fine, and then I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. And so place trying to just get the mechanics and just do everything to work. And it's like,
Every project in that.
Yeah.
Ready to start our second
Yeah.
review.
Yeah.
I would like to ask Arturo to describe, introduce the project, the second project that we are reviewing this morning. First, then give the team a chance to present it to the board, to the panel.
Sounds good. So this one project we will review this morning is 900 East Clarendon, located just east of the Dallas Loop, our station. The primary design considerations for the redevelopment of the former ice house structure include pedestrian, parking lot, and building improvements on Clarendon that will help facilitate walkability, activate the street, and encourage creative tenant uses. With Cedar Creek running alongside a portion of the site, focus should also be given to the unique opportunities offered to enhance the user experience through siting of outdoor seating and amenities. And with that quick introduction, I want to introduce AJ to provide a little more detail on the project and introduce his design.
Hey everyone, I'm Jeremy, where I'm across the property. We focus on doing adaptive reuse projects in the Oak Cliff area for 12 years now. And this is 900 East Clarendon, calling it East Dock. It is a 63,000 foot warehouse that was originally a ice house. We built in 2015. The idea is to have retail and then office space. incorporated in the project. And super excited about it. This is the team. This is Alicia, who will be answering most of the questions today.
I'll just take a minute and
Yeah.
introduce the rest of the team. So
Yeah.
Adrian Brandler is, of course, the owner, representing the owner of Moss Properties. Donald and Charity, also with Paul Harden. He's our consultant and knows all about the neighborhood and what's going on with developments in the neighborhood. So he's spearheading this and also helped acquire this property. It's been kind of a vacant and derelict building for a long time. I live in a neighborhood just a little south of the zoo, so I'm, always over here along this path along Clarendon. We hope to one day kind of extend the bike lane along Clarendon and have a lot of other functions going on there with the coming of the deck park. So we have proximity to the zoo, the deck park, neighborhoods, Oak Cliff neighborhoods to the east of 35 are really close. Foxy Properties actually has another property that is, I know it's hard to see these maps, but in your 11 by 17, there's a bigger complex map that shows the proximity of another property on Morrell that is Oak Cliff Assembly that used, well, it still is known as Zion Missionary Baptist Church, and it's a historic landmark. So they successfully, over the past couple of years, have turned that into kind of an office mixed use. There's still a theater in that building. So like the focus with Foxy is kind of this east side of Oak Cliff right now and east and south. A lot of their projects are here. This particular one, it's a historic site, and I'm going to use that word lightly. And it has been used since the 1800s and the early 1900s for ice production. So we're kind of calling it an ice house. This is actually the historic part of the ice house. It's a big concrete box that used to house. So this part was built in the 20s. And then later on, as production got bigger and bigger, they added on these metal buildings. And in the 40s, this site was used for, and they're actually, in the 40s is when some of the metal buildings were added. And those were used for a company that made airplane parts. So it's had a big history, and that was like during war times. So it's had a large history of production and manufacturing in this area. We're not changing zoning. It's still going to be industrial manufacturing because we can do almost anything except residential in there. Dividing it up into these metal buildings are, really just big spaces. So we are going to divide space to allow for different sizes. Don't really have tenants yet that I know of signed on, but we're hoping that, as people see the development going on, there would be interest. So like that's sort of how all of their projects work. They kind of just start them without tenants, and then as they get going, like they, meet new people and have new interest. And we think that there's going to be a lot of interest over here, of course, with the talk of the deck park and all of the development happening at the zoo. The zoo is expanding, like they're talking about parking garage over there, so we hope to alleviate some of the parking issues that the zoo might have. We have parking along the north side of the property. There's already a big space for trucks, that's mainly what they use this for. It's really not been maintained very well, so there's concrete underneath grass. So in the photos you see grass, but there's really concrete underneath there and some block and grass. We're trying to be not do it all concrete, but mix it with permeable paving so that we have some
permeability built into the site. Really, like, if y'all have questions, let me know, but I'm just gonna talk.
No, one question for you. We have a question for you.
Well, do you have more in your presentation, or have you told us everything that you want to tell us? Please finish.
Yeah,
Before-
I mean, I kind of think like that's the scope of the project. I mean, we're definitely adaptive use, like we're trying to save a building and adapt it to a new use. And we're gonna be neighborhood friendly. We'd really like to have a restaurant in this space.
Let's start here, the restaurant.
Yeah,
I've had a couple restaurants, but they get it.
and this would have a view to the creek runs along this side, the south side, and then DART is right behind us. And the DART station is just our neighbor, just so like it's really an ideal spot. This piece right here is facing Clarendon and that's the piece with the large windows. They're covered by an awning right now, so you can't really see how pretty the windows are, but from the inside, they're like metal casement windows, and we're hoping to just repurpose those windows, leave them in place, fix the glazing, and leave them. They actually did that successfully at Zion.
Part of our goal is to be really sensitive to the environment. We're using PACE financing on the project, so we have an expectation or requirement with that financing to be above energy code on any improvements that are made to the property. So that's
Good.
and we intend to kind of incorporate that with the exterior also. Water collection system.
Before Norman asks, starts the question and answers section here, just wanted to tell you, you certainly know, probably know, but this family is made up of volunteers. We are all volunteers, and we bring a diverse set of expertise. We have engineers, we have landscape architects, urban designers, urban planners, architects, historic preservation specialists, and even museum experts in the panel. So we cover the whole range. Our goal is to review the work with you, provide feedback, provide constructive feedback. We want the work, your project to be realized, to happen. We're not here to put the brakes on it, quite the opposite. And our viewpoint is that we want not only the project to happen, but to add to the city fabric, to the social and physical fabric of the city in a positive way. So that's what we do. Okay. Also, the way that we like to organize this is now that you have presented the work to us, we will ask you a couple of questions for clarification only, and then we engage with you on a dialogue, feedback back with feedback. Okay, sounds good. Please, Norman.
All right, morning. Alicia, it doesn't look to me like you're adding any square footage. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
The things that you're adding are just accessories around the side. Are you reworking any of the major exterior walls or anything? I mean, other than repair, are you like taking off the metal and putting CMU up, or is it just, it's what you see is what you get?
That's right. We're gonna fix metal panels where we need to. It's probably most of it is gonna have a new roof, but it is all metal roof except for the concrete walls.
Okay, what are you removing? Is there anything substantial being taken other than cleaning out stuff?
The only thing that's being taken out really is where we're putting windows. So
What?
where we're punching windows, so the window
Okay.
punches, but and the roof, but yeah.
And those are in metal, the metal building.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. There's a little.
Oh, actually,
They're not the right
there's
side.
a masonry wall back here that faces the door. So we are planning, there are some holes where some fans are right now.
Yeah, we're gonna
Industrial
re-explore.
fans there, but we're gonna put windows where we can fans.
So it leads up to the question, are you doing tax credits for that?
I helped with
explored it.
Jamie and he said that if we're gonna punch the windows, it won't qualify. He did not think it would qualify for tax credits. He did not recommend it.
On a dark track thing, some of us would respectfully disagree.
Well, I think he was concerned about the windows we were putting on this building, which is the best building. It wouldn't be.
Are punching.
We are punching windows on this building, and there's currently 0 windows in this building, so it'd be very challenging to use it for anything besides
They
industrial.
approved it on the TMP warehouse over in Fort Worth, lots and lots and lots of them, so.
I mean, I would love, we're working on about this bridge right now, and it's been a pretty fun
Yeah.
process. I would look at it, we looked at it.
I would have taken that. So, and so, that's my question.
Okay, any question?
Yeah, briefly, I know that you've been reaching out to the community. Can you talk a little bit about what that process has been like and what the feedback has been?
Sure, so, a lot of communication engagement has been just constant, so I also sort of board, so you put that Clark, which is now in construction. And I also have several projects around here that support this project. Engagement has been pretty consistent and constant over the years. Community has expressed a pretty strong interest to see some active uses there. Often the comparison is made to Tyler Station. And seeing this more active use, the conversation to and their leadership, giving them over this process and project. They've been supportive of it. Their garage it's groundbreaking happened, I believe, last week. Construction starts in May. I'm trying to work with them to get some staging area for the construction process. But the communication with the community is constant. And think of constant by virtue of also the same project, just so.
Thank you.
James?
I have the same question, just the community input, what you're hearing kind of most resoundingly, what are people wanting here?
Yeah.
What do you hear?
So the Assembly, which is the church up the hill, that we learned a lot about what the community wants and what the needs are.
What did you learn specifically?
Well, the offices lease, we have the 23 kind of smaller offices, they lease immediately. So which was surprising, because you read the newspaper says there's no commander office, but there's also very little office in the southern sector, especially that's been updated. So we think that there's a huge amount of demand for that. We chose the sizing of these suites though, based on the feedback we got from the Assembly and who people calling for, the size of us not being able to. The Assembly cut it into multiple buildings, so it's harder to have bigger suite sizes. But I mean, at the Assembly we did a pop fun art show at the very beginning. We got like 200 people show up, and I think some people showed up, and it was just like there's a huge community that exists that I think wants to come explore this part of Oak Cliff, that or that is already living in this side of Oak Cliff that doesn't have anything right now, and it's very little.
And one of the challenges with this area just across the board is that because this area is so old, in fact, it was originally planted in the 1880s. This is one of the oldest parts of Oak Cliff. The parcel size are officially very small. I believe this is going to be the second largest convergence site. This is the largest thing in West Rock that ever became available. And so it limits, although demand and regional activity, in a historical sense, that's originally Marcellus Park, is there, the actual capacity to absorb what the community, the region wants in this area is quite limited. So that's what we're getting in the office and from retail and restaurant. There's a serious capacity issue for being able to absorb what the area has for.
That's very good, but let me follow up. The input that you're telling us that you received from the community, what I hear is more of a market analysis. Well, there's a demand for small office suites or demand for restaurant space, whatever. That's to me is market analysis. I'm asking community interest, not market analysis. Anything that you heard from your previous experience and from this one regarding community desires that go beyond the actual use of the building or for, once again, market demands?
I mean, I think, are you asking like what type of tenant that they would like to see?
More
Like
like
they're not-
what function.
What type of
Amenities.
amenities or urban equipment or common common spaces beyond the,
Right.
okay, we have a suite of different sizes.
Right.
So from a community standpoint, the biggest thing that we've heard is that people wanted a restaurant. They wanted somewhere, or just really somewhere to gather without having to, frankly, drive somewhere else to invite their friends over. That is absolutely without a doubt. Number one request. Everything that comes after that has been secondary. So obviously with that, there's big space, there's outdoor space. There's been a lot of discussion about explaining the history of it. In other words, talking about how the area has grown and changed. So for 10th Street being just a couple of blocks away, that community has explained to myself and them just saying that we want people to know how this building ties into the history of the area, ties with 10th Street. And so they've been very, very supportive of the conversion because it serves as both a historical anchor to the past and also an anchor that says this is where we're going to go in the future.
Okay.
And I think that it being right across the street from the zoo,
Yeah.
it would be nice to have something over there where you could, you know, go to the zoo and then stop by one of the street facing retail spots and go sit on a patio, have some lunch, grab a coffee, something that ice cream, yeah. And I think also one of the ideas is to maybe get a couple of workout studios in there, and so the community would be able to go to those workout studios without having to go very far. So
I live half a mile away from this, and Clarendon is my thoroughfare to Moore Park or the Trinity Trestle Trail. And we're avid cyclists, we ride our bikes down Clarendon all the time. Like what I hope, and we put a lot of bike racks around the site at the entries. Like I hope to get one day like a proper bike path along Clarendon.
And they've got something as well too, is that every time the heat is over, it's so important. It's very, I live in South, right? Depending on the day, sometimes I'll take transit, sometimes I'll drive, it varies. But one thing that's been very consistent is that the zoo, for to me, serving success, has 1 million+ visitors. And I don't know if people really understand how much it means, particularly for the underserved neighborhood, to have 1 million visitors, all that economic activity in a fortress. And this project really is the beginning of getting that economic opportunity out of that fortress. The dead park does that too, to some extent. That part is the idea. But this is really on the private side, really showing that for once, all of they have service in here every day, right? You have 1 million visitors, there's traffic, there's all these pedestrians, right? There's a cost to be the basis of that. In fact, they paid that cost by literally in their own park space. The zoo itself was still big, it was expanded at the expense of Thomas Hill Park, right? So every time we're looking at this project, for that matter, anything here, the neighborhoods always look at this as how are we getting some benefit out of the cost that they have really paid for over a century.
So sorry, can I ask a couple of follow-up questions based on that? So at one point you all mentioned that there's a 500+ parking garage.
Correct.
Not too far away, is it within walking distance of this project?
600 feet.
Oh,
Which
great.
direction, can you
Yeah.
point us in that lower, that one right there, yes. Okay.
Directly south of the Dallas Dark Zoo Station.
Okay.
Okay.
They're taking that parking lot and making a garage there.
Okay,
And that is to serve, I assume, not only dark, but
We was a non-service zoo, I work with the zoo and all of everything else. They get some publicly accessible parking. It will be paid, but it won't be restricted to the zoo. Again, setting that standard of something that serves the overall community, not just the regional.
Okay.
so then my second question is that it looks like a lot of these tenant spaces are private office spaces, but you're talking about economic generation and wanting a restaurant. So I just wanted to clarify that some of these, like this suite number 12 warehouse or this suite number 14 could potentially be restaurant spaces that could employ local
It could.
workforce.
There are two big things to consider here. It is industrial manufacturing. To activate this project does not require zoning change, but as you may or may not be aware, there's a lot of discussion right now about market reform.
Right.
We're also having discussions about looking at zoning changes specifically to remove the parking constraint. Because again, this area was built out in the 1880s. 10th Street was existing and served its purpose long before cars existed, you know, a generation or two. To force this neighborhood to say, we're gonna sacrifice your restaurant opportunity in order to accommodate more vehicles, again, they just, the cycle continuing. So we're looking at that, and this is just showing today with current parking regulations, what we can actually do. Okay.
And I think on a smaller scale too, like where one of the goals is to like kind of bring the feel that like Bishop Arts brought
Right.
to, you know, Oak Cliff into this area so that people have something like that.
Okay.
So great.
Please.
Yeah, I have a few questions, but I think it'd be great once this space was activated for that. I was looking for, you don't have a parking ratio summary in this package.
Well, we have a parking count, but without knowing what the tenant mix will be, then we don't really know exactly what we need. We're guessing, right now, but until we have, you know, like, are we gonna have a
Well,
restaurant?
that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Because if you say, if the restaurant is carved at a different rate versus
Right.
a showroom. Showroom, you know, 4,000 square feet is one ratio, 40,000, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think I understand, but is that cement block the far right corner next to those magenta trees? That corner? The cement-
This one here.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, right.
It's kind of the corner, it's right here.
No, I think it's further to the right, right?
No, it's this.
It's right here. It's
It's
this
that
box
suite,
right here.
it's suite, number 4.
Are you sure that,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, I think where the confusion comes from. It's second floor building is being opened up. It was planned on.
It's right here.
It was like, it's almost just a lean-to structure right now. So we're opening up so we can have direct access into the ice house without having to go into the portal.
In this photo, you can see the concrete sticking out right here. But it does have an awning that we are taking off to make that look.
Okay, it's just, I was looking at that.
Yeah.
Based on this, it looked like it was pretty far to the right.
Right.
The reason I asked the question, you know, is like, are there any structural wall gonna be, how much flexibility is there in creating these spaces?
We designed the entire suite setup based on the existing walls and roof.
And those are on road based wall, but that's what.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, these are steel buildings, so they're column bays, you know, like there's like 4 column bays, and it's all open. You know, like there's no. And this one is the same way, it's like a whole open warehouse with, columns on each side of the wheel.
And I'm proposing any new sidewalk along Clarendon.
Well, the city actually did it for us. They changed all the, yeah, they recently, just have repoured a concrete sidewalk along here. And it goes all the way up to this corner. We are proposing on Viola Street, we're proposing, adding some parking there. Right now, this is just dirt and then a road. But we're adding some parallel parking along the street and then a sidewalk to go along that.
That another sidewalk, the new one is 4 feet or 5 feet.
Say it's 4 feet, just in Texas Council of Governments, you can see what they spread with Altitude and several other stations, again, advertising this area. So that part of this project and others, to do not just the sidewalks around here, but several, I believe their standard is 4 feet.
Is there like right of way constraint?
Clarendon has a 60-foot right of way. Part of the awkwardness of the site, again, is or policy, if you will, is that when Clarendon was built, it kind of threw the original block of the neighborhood. In fact, they built directly over 10th Street. And that's part of why you have this unusual lot pattern there. If you look at the actual description, you see the original lots where they once were.
Because we did have some struggle in our preliminary conversations about the site and whether we want to force new sidewalks when there was one just built, you know, we had that struggle.
Yeah.
Also the building comes all the way to the sidewalk
And there's some old trees.
Yeah, there's.
There are, like these two, this one especially is a really big size tree. And like these two trees we're trying to save. There's a lot of utility stuff going along here too. That is not part of our project, but part of whatever the right of way is. So we're trying not to mess with any of that.
Yes.
The property line is right here, just
Yeah.
beyond all of that sidewalk.
And then, right now, let's say that your current parking is based on industrial use, and do you anticipate doing any remote parking agreement, or would the garage satisfy the, let's say you put restaurant, all of it? Would the garage be good enough because it's already there, but would the city allow you to get a permit for restaurant use? To be able to go there?
We would need to get a variance.
We think it is important. What if they- regardless of the outcome of the overall citywide discussion with parking reform being that it's transit oriented. The city would almost certainly allow us to parking constraints. We probably still look at remote parking agreements, not for city reasons, but just for other reasons. But again, the goal is to deliver. So.
Okay. Good. All right. Thank you for answering the questions. I think we have something back for you. We like your stuff as well.
Sure, I'll actually be relatively quick. First thing I'll mention is and you may already understand this, but the whole thing about office absorption, that I hear that too, and that's completely, utterly skewed to corporate stuff. I've been in some commercial real estate meetings recently where, corporate office, data center, office warehouse, and healthcare are the only things on their radar. Adaptive reuse isn't even a category. The CRE is what it is, so little of it. And so it doesn't surprise me that you've heard that, and it doesn't surprise me that you haven't seen it in this kind of product. I suspect that would be outrageously popular to do that. And it's also ironic to me that our previous applicants were not here channeling the whole East Austin ideas and their stuff. This is 100 times more East Austin.
Is it more Austin?
Yeah.
Is it more Austin than Austin?
This is more Austin than Austin. Sorry, fellas. Well, it is. And so,
Oak Cliff is more Austin.
yeah, Oak Cliff is more Austin than Austin. You can use that.
I was there yesterday, off to become a big city.
They don't know it. Yeah, right. Especially in your transit areas, that's something else. Look, I love this. This is what I come here to do, except I don't get to say much because everything I'm, except for the tax credits.
Yeah, I hear you.
Tax
Noah.
credits.
I hear you.
I hope you tell the story if you go. I know the story that you can tell.
Casey and I are gonna talk.
All right, and because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we need this kind of thing. I mean, the design is true to the original building. It's you've been very whatever perspective you would like to take it, you've been very respectful of the materials. That's very efficient. That's very sustainable. You've played on the natural look of the property. You've used everything that you can. You've been creative in the way you subdivide the space. You're very, I think very reasonable in your ideas about what kind of spaces you have and how you would use them. And again, we've got the character of the place, which is interesting. A lot of people like this. I'm one of them. And it carries through inside and out, and you just respond to what you've been given. And I don't have anything specific. I think it's fantastic. Good luck.
I really appreciate that.
I totally agree. I'm really excited about this project. I think it looks great. The adaptive reuse, of course, is what we would want to see always whenever there's existing space that can be reused. My only comment, and I was asking about the parking garage nearby, and I was happy to hear that you can apply for a variance to get parking. I'm hoping that you can push that even further, because I would love to see some of these parking areas be reclaimed for softscape in green benefits because, your key shot, that one in the left there, that would make the perfect space for picnic tables, green space, play space. I mean, I have a 10-year-old in these areas where you have just a green field where kids can play, but parents can still watch them. I think would be really, really nice to see. It's just such a shame that that is a parking space and I know that it's there.
This driver here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but even the one up here too.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel that efficient. You're not using 28 spaces from my count, total, so I would hope that you can really push that and I think it's the right time since we're talking about parking reform, and give that back to the community as usable green space. So other than that, I feel exactly the same way Norm does.
Did you see the presentation at Coffee and Conversation on Tuesday about parking reform?
I did.
And they're recommending it go to 0.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
They're, people wanna just like.
and then come back and add what's needed. They're not sure who gets to determine that number. But they're gonna, right now, coming out of the city, it's 0 parking requirements. Do what you think you can live with here.
Okay.
So you've got a bright future. in this
Yeah,
firm.
and tell the city to put the money where their mouths are and really hold them to it, because I think that there are a lot of us who would want to see that. So hopefully those are discussions you're already having, things you're already working towards, but I'm very excited about this. It's great, so thank you. Thank you.
Vice, would you like to go next?
Yes.
Yes.
I think I'm a second mayor, and I'm trying to be mayor, so parking the same. I see a couple of spots, I'm sure you will later figure. Some of those will work from our beach, used to buy in those. People won't be able to park, or they can park and get out. So if that is the case, like, my colleague mentioned, look at, we could bring some other things. Clear in place and say. Same thing on certain one, it's basically a better restricting everything. And that is way too tight for two heading parties. Like you can read a minimum of 58 to 60, and I just kind of scared it off, so it's around that. So just take a look at that, and if that happens, then I guess I'm getting at is that you're gonna be short parking regardless, correct? So if that is the case, why try to force 20 spaces instead of really focus on getting it back with a huge that we're doing for the community?
I want to say something real quick, it hasn't been mentioned, we did mention, here, just across Ewing is the, Zoom Dark Station. We will qualify from what I've read, and I'm not super in touch with these parking reductions, but from our site to the platform is, I believe, like 616 feet, which I think gives us, by right, a 25% parking reduction.
I think it's that reduction, yeah. That's correct, but it's more fun, and the bikes give us discounts.
So that is one of the comments I have because, at least one of these, maybe the one which is facing, these ones really are not very much. So maybe and I was in place for, if you're gonna put a restaurant, maybe eat a dumpster area and stuff, right? I would encourage maybe letting go all of these 8 spaces, which are not very functional, and create a true function for that corner, especially if it's gonna be a restaurant, we could have nice view to the
Right.
And the reason why I asked the question about load-bearing walls, I get it, market is definitely you need office suites. Personally, I would have liked to see a development which is more focused on our community type groups, those kind of businesses instead of office, but then you're getting, it's like 20 offices instead of a restaurant.
Yeah.
And my thought was, this is very, I understand, that's why I was concerned about the limitation on, can you do a different layout? Because I would have liked to see a bigger visual line of sight available in the middle that can go to every suite instead of like a maze of running around.
Yeah, so we actually, so a couple things. The reason we put these ones as we think that these ones will be the best retail is because even though they're faced sideways to the street, when you're coming down from Ewing, you actually have the best, once we clear all this underbrush, you have the best sideline right here. And we tried with the corridors to make almost, I think only 2 suites don't have an exterior entrance. So we tried really hard to bring that corridor in. We still have the winding corridor because we're concerned. So, okay, we wanted to get rid of the parking like y'all talked about, but it's how do we convince your restaurant person here to park, way back here? They'll do that at Bishop Arts, but they're not gonna go try. I think it would be challenging to get the first time person to come, leave the zoo. They're gonna drive down there and be like, where are you? Yeah, we park.
One thing, but I think it's also more important to keep that little small parking the right end of.
Yeah.
And so that it was great that the market engaging and tells everybody, hey, maybe I'll just drop off my family and I'll go on.
Okay, that's a good point.
Something I want to touch on is when these things that we have labeled as, for example, I'll be very specific with sheet number 6 where it says office use. Well, so something that we have found at our other development, which is less than a mile away, is that we touched on with the East Austin thing. There is this core group of young entrepreneurs and artists that are either solopreneurs or just working a night job and doing something during the day that need a small place to do whatever it is they're doing. We've met these, like he touched on our art wall thing. We've had 3 now with, over 1,000 people go every single time. Our original idea with this space was to use it as an open space for creatives and artists. What space is it? 6.
Yeah, it's this building right here.
So it opens up, and that's the main thing that we were talking about, taking out the old fans, taking out some of the 14-foot bay doors and just putting more glass so that it could look out to the street. It's got the view of the zoo and most of the landscaping that's out here. It will be this view right here. And if it allows us to creating a almost co-working environment, which is what we started off with at our Oak Assembly project. It was almost a co-working space for artists and creatives, young entrepreneurs. And it just kind of grew into, now we have the chiropractor, we have multiple nonprofits that are there. So when we say office use, we're using a lot of, yeah, it's not, it's meant to be, it's not,
Yeah.
we're not gonna have, drop ceilings and stuff like that. We're trying to make this thing nice, we're trying to make it inviting. So that's when, I don't know, it shows that, but it's.
I get it, I totally get it, that it depends on the future, like a Starbucks comes in and say, hey, give me that hardboard, or you gotta get all, there you go.
Yeah. Somebody with those co-working spaces, somebody needs to be the operator, so that's what they're gonna be looking out for. We need an operator to come in and operate that.
And my other comment is that this, I know should be maybe just middle of local sidewalk, but maybe if we are gonna have less parking, a lot of people I get walk from the garage back and forth. I would encourage redoing that, make it a minimum 6, preferred 8 feet. Does that mean you have to rework some of the utilities? Yes. But in the long run, if you really want it to be successful, especially people parking in the garage walking, then make it safe. Otherwise, if they're not feeling safe, they're not gonna come.
Are you recommending we do that all the way to the garage or just in front of us?
Yes, if the city pay for it, then they don't. Especially if it's only 600 feet, it's not.
Across the street is me, north is me. We have 60 feet of right of way cleared, and that's about 9,000 cars a day. Very lightly traveled. And hopefully we're gonna, this would be a lot longer into the driveway. We could look, that's already, to see if I'm working, doing that the street, about shrinking the overall right of way in terms of for particular path. Because as it stands right now, we, 2020 study for bike lanes and pedestrian improvement stopped at 30 on the west side. We would also like to see working, continuing to further east all the way out to 10th Street, so that maybe over 5 lanes to shut it down. Some of that work.
Great idea, I would say, put that in, recommended, I'm sure they will pick it up, and then also in the meantime, especially if the garage is being built, it's only 600 feet away, widen the sidewalk, we even ask for pedestrian scale lighting. You really need people who at least have to hear about it.
So it's like basically Jews in one corner, effectively this is in one corner. or it's
We don't make a case for, but look, this is what people are gonna fall, this is what they're gonna go. We want it safe, give us some funding, we're gonna do the lighting and illumination, make it safe at night. And it will really be good for the developer.
great.
Yeah, my comments are more high level. Maybe it's more like a sermon than comments. I have a little history with Deck Park, also good to see you again. So I feel like this is more of a conversation you're touching on. You know, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I think it's gonna be extremely popular. And what doesn't really come across here is that all of the zoo redeveloped, the way that they're gonna change the zoo, make that more permeable, I'll call it, is really gonna change a lot. Southern Gateway coming online, Deck Park, you've got Dart, project. I think we're gonna see a complete transformation of that region of the city, Cliff. So I think it's extremely important. My comments are more about, you know, the linking, I think where that was going. And I'm happy, I'm sure that and the rest of the panel to help advocate for these things. But I think linking those assets, linking all of that together and making it safe for the community and the 10th Streets, yeah, love this. I think across the neighborhoods to the south, your neighborhood, I think making all of this much more walkable. Ewing is going to be a complete street. It's going to link right up to the zoo. So I would foresee people coming to the zoo that normally drive in, go to the zoo, get the heck out. You know, they're gonna hang out. They're gonna go to the Deck Park. They're gonna walk over to this property. This is all going to need to be extremely safe and walkable and linked up with lighting and everything else. So maybe this is more comments to the city and, you know, how you talk about this. But I feel like it's less, my comments are less about your site specifically, but the importance of getting that support to make this successful and link up to everything else that's going to be going on around here. Which I think you're just part of a bigger opportunity that's going to happen. Yeah, more neighborhood friendly. Now, the fact that you're going to be connecting, I think Clarendon, making that more walkable. Any way you can make that corner easily accessible, friendly, inviting. I think you're thinking about that already. Those are my comments. Unless to you specifically, I don't know what to do with that, but you know, I think it's just going to take people like us and, you know, for the importance of that if we're truly going to change. And give the community the quality of life improvements that they deserve.
Thank you.
I think it's great. What you get from these experts from my peers? It's amazing feedback that you are giving today. I want to emphasize some of the points that you just heard. I don't think I have anything original to say, but I want to emphasize. James, right on target. Deck Park, zoo, complete street, parking garage, Cedar Creek. And where are you? Right in the middle of everything, right there. So that, by the way, is the only game with math that you throw all these components, but you don't link them together. Please help yourself by highlighting all these elements that are around you. I know you had it in your mind, but other people may not. So highlight all of these and place your property as a focal point, as one of the connecting points in this, as one of the angles. That's right. So I think that's the bigger picture that we'd like you to emphasize. With the aspect of reusing the buildings, preserving the buildings, excellent. It's A+. Norman approves it. We were good with it. But what is missing again is the emphasis, and you alluded to that. But from a social standpoint, from a physical standpoint, we'd like to see this clear on a map, on a diagram. And when you create that diagram, what becomes evident, again, James pointed at, and others, my peers here, This, not so much that, but this is the connecting tip. Because right there, that's the edge of your property that faces all the good stuff that's happening here. From parking, from zoo, from deck park, from Cedar Creek, from, what's the name, street viewing, everything happens right there. And currently, unfortunately, that's why I want to encourage you to revisit this. You already heard parking, if we have to reduce parking, this board, this panel will support you in your request. We can't do anything, but we can support you if you request, when you request a reduction in parking. This to me is the critical point, right there. When I asked you earlier about the community feedback, of course, there's demand for small office suites, there's interest in reusing buildings, there's interest in restaurants. But again, we are talking about private interest. A project like this, when you come to the city and you ask for help, well, what are you willing to give back to the city, to share with the city, so that not only the city can benefit, but also your development can benefit. And once again, I think the key is right there. Please rethink this. It's not for parking. It's not for a small, what do you call, a deck off of a restaurant. I think this has to be bold. This edge facing the creek, this has to be bold. How bold can we make it? Think in the urban scale, not property scale. If this is a link between all of these stuff, all this stuff that's happening here, what should it be? What will it be like? Think about there's a 5K run, or there's an incredible event at zoo that once every 10 years, I don't know. Where will families gather after the event, after the race? If there are 1,000 people, well, we can't fit them here. So, again, right there. And if it takes more than landscape, if it takes, dare I say, taking the corner building here and opening it up, you mentioned earlier, making this a open building, open environment that could be semi-common. My words, not your words. Well, is that the space, or is it here instead? I don't know. Can we have two? Can we have two of these grand public spaces of the building? These couple of images that you have in your packet here, they allude to a public environment, right? Not so much tenant only, but even if they are, they have the air of you and I, everybody here on the board is invited and would feel welcome in a space like this. So where is that space? Is it there?
We have some here.
Yeah.
This, as we open it up, would be like a really wide corridor, but open air.
Right.
And so one of those visionary examples would be this space, but we also have it down here.
So that's what I'm getting to. They're fine, tenants mostly, but here, oh, that would be a game changer.
Well, and right now, this is pretty heavily wooded and natural, and there is, if they haven't destroyed it, there is a historic little piece of the bridge right here.
It's coming, they're trying hard.
But I think they did the work, several years ago, and they had to examine the history of that, and they came to Preservation Hours to talk about it, so I do think that maybe they didn't deserve that, but you can't see it right now, because it's kind of like buried in the shrubs.
So-
But this would be a great, like, ear garden or something like that,
There you go.
and maybe we don't even have to pave it, you know.
Exactly. You're going in the right direction. If this has to be, if you need to get into a partnership with the city or arts department, whoever it is, to enhance that public asset and enhance your property, everybody wins. So you invite people from the zoo, you make your development stronger for everybody. And this becomes maybe the first phase of a broader development along Cedar Creek. Look what it could be. And then your neighbor does the same here, over there, and then all of a sudden, what a beautiful thing. So
Do you think that if we could keep the momentum going, it might be the third?
yes,
Yeah.
and that's what we would like to see. That's what we encourage you to think like. and we will support. So, all good, more of it, bolder, hence, if I can say that way. Is anything else? Oh, good. Any questions for us?
I think it's encouraging.
I have a question for James. Like, is there, since I live in the neighborhood and I've been there for like 33 years, we struggle with sidewalks, like from Beckley to this spot right here. Actually to the zoo station. So anything that you could do to help us get sidewalks, even from Beckley to the zoo would be extremely helpful.
We're gonna need to take a number.
You know, I can't say enough. I think it's extremely important over here. There are 1 million+ people that come to the zoo. And it's gonna grow. And when all of that program, all that surface slot becomes additional zoo program, I would expect 2 million pretty quickly. That is, point, yeah, that is gonna be a major access point in making this more walkable. It's clearly gonna be pretty dicey with speeds and.
Yeah.
And zoo, parking, who's in the middle? You.
Yeah, I mean, you're right next to it's coming together right there. That beer garden is gonna be an extremely popular place.
It's not only a beer garden. We invite it for everybody, not only for beer drinkers, but for the child, for the, well, for everybody. It's a semi-public space. It would be great if that's, imagine if this edge here on the side, if it were kind of space that me, if I wouldn't be quite sure if it is private or public, that in between, that would be great. Yeah.
I think, it's, I can't remember the name of the brew house, but it's the one at Gaston and, where it was all redeveloped, there's an Albertsons there over by East Dallas and Conway. Great, no, that's right. Right, yes, thank you. That seems like a good example of that. We've gone there a couple of times right after a bicycle race or a meetup or something like that, and that's not anywhere near the zoo. But you've got like 50 to 100 people with their bikes, and they're all just there. It's perfect, it's wooded behind, there's a trail, if you wanna see an example of how this could work, I think that's a good spot, and so. No, but just further to the.
It's right next to that Tom Thumb.
Exactly.
In like the corner.
Yeah, white, yes, and it's very nondescript, I mean, the architecture is absolutely nothing to speak about, but I think that imagining that times 20 is what I'm imagining in my mind.
And just on that brewery, so directly north of this, on my side, we actually have a brewery that's on the way. They actually, their tanks there, they're already there. And it's actually the first black owned brewery in the city of Dallas, which all the brewery considering it's next to the region now.
What's it called?
Snittix Brewing.
Snittix?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very good.
But anyway, so yes, they've taken advantage of their sites, in order to connect the trail to the lake, to, all of that sort of pedestrian nerve center. And so, yeah, again, I think it's to Yuriko's point that you're sort of right in the middle, doing the same thing, but on a much bigger scale, and people just flock to it. I mean, it's amazing, the traffic that they get, and just by its own, so.
So we encourage you to think even more bolderly than what we had. Okay,
Thank you.
any other comments, feedback, or if not, Arturo, what are we in summary?
We're good. We'll read back what you heard today and we'll type this up and send it to you most likely on Monday. But what I heard today, 6 comments. Number 1, the panel advises some parking areas be repurposed for softscape, green space, seating areas. If a parking agreement can be made with the neighboring garage under construction. Number 2, the panel recommends further study of the parking areas to eliminate spots that are not accessible or interfere with service areas. Number 3, the panel advises tenant uses and access to tenant spaces be studied further to ensure the development has an active tenant mix and clear wayfinding. Number 4, the panel recommends a sidewalk along Clarendon be widened and pedestrian lighting be added to encourage pedestrian use and access from DART and the new parking garage on Ewing. Number 5, the panel believes this part of Oak Cliff is seeing a tremendous change, and linking these emerging assets will be important for the city to ensure pedestrian and the community can safely access these amenities. And that, again, that's mostly for the city, but we're including that because together with this and other changes to the city, puts a little more pressure on the city to actually think this through. And lastly, the panel recommends additional attention should be given to the southern tip of the development that does not have parking to create a bold urban contribution to development and the community that opens up unique opportunities for complementary uses along the creek's edge.
I think it's really good. Anything that
I mean, the only specific thing would be some kind of diagram for you all, just to communicate this linkage.
Yeah.
Would be really, visual, but we, I think that's.
well, that I was doing for myself, but
Yeah.
so excellent. We will be fixing your restaurants and your bakery space in your next move over Cedar Creek as much as well.
Okay. What is the time?
I mean, it depends a little bit on how long the process goes, but I think we have a 10-month construction schedule.
We're more than halfway through CDs.
Okay, great.
But what,
I did that effort before this.
so you are halfway through CDs. How much elbow room? How much?
A lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you incorporate the comments that we provide?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can. It's actually really eye-opening because the city, the part we didn't sign these things around parking, and you have to design the whole thing for it to be successful from a city from a permit standpoint. So there's hurdles that we have to go over to make sure we can incorporate those items, including like the variance that we escalating. We were finding variance for sure anyway, but
This is a platted lot, right? You're not replatting it.
And we're not building anything, so that's why we're almost finished with CDs, because, we're just taking,
Well, look,
modifying
that parking,
existing.
when I think that parking, so it's gonna go to developers first.
Oh, yeah.
So parking. No, I don't know if it would be the case of panel being on record, supporting an agreement towards reduction in parking, or an agreement supporting an agreement with a partnership with the parking garage that we built adjacent to the site. I don't know if it's the case. It's
I think in general, our department can, that's right up our alley in terms of what we're trying to do.
yeah.
But also that parking agreement, who owns the parking garage? Is it the zoo or is it the city?
It's the city law, right? So Carl contributed some money to it in exchange for it being publicly accessible, so the zoo doesn't have full control.
So, yeah.
We would ask actually, can we just go for parking agreement, just want to let the market decide whether.
See, this parking agreement working was privately owned, and then they would got a parking agreement. In this case, it's publicly owned space. The only thing would be to, once it's open, there would be a study whether it is, under par or over par. If it's under par, then why not, I think there was strong case, especially if it is right next to.
Yeah.
Right next to, right?
The revenue.
Yeah.
So parking on the north of the site, sure, by all means, but down here and along Clarendon. Probably.
So you're using what, 8 spaces for the base that?
yeah, there's many things
And I think there's like 13 or 14 here. and-
4 of them are not functioning, really, exactly, 8 spaces. And maybe you can add some in that other building. I don't know, you're pretty maxed out.
Yeah, because there's an access easement here that's shared with the other property and trucks pass through here. But yeah, this takes up a lot of room. We can't build anything.
Anyway, thank you for.
Thank you.
sharing what you've done.
Thank you all. Yeah,
So, one thing on my own, you're counting with the work.
we did count it, we count these, like, yeah. 11 spaces on front. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.